As always on a Monday, we cross to New York to speak to best-selling author Douglas Murray. Douglas, let's start with Pride Month. Just about every corporate entity around the world is virtue signalling very loudly about how inclusive they are. As a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, do you think Pride Month is positive and necessary?
Look, I mean, I remember when Pride was a parade, basically, in certain cities, in countries where equal rights didn't yet completely exist, where there were certain issues like civil partnerships that people campaigned about and they marched about. And that all seemed like it made sense. Then, after the battle was won, for almost every single right in Western democracies like Britain, Australia, and America, Pride marches became Pride weeks and then Pride months. And we ought to watch out because it might become Pride year quite soon. And it'll be like the Chinese years, but every year will be the year of Pride. And I think the whole thing has long ago become an unholy alliance between the weird people who remain on the barricades on the gay rights issues in the West. And basically, by the way, I say it's weird because they don't really do anything about gay rights for people in countries where if you're gay, you have no rights. They've decided also, having won the battle and all the gay stuff, they should decide that it's a really progressive thing to sort of campaign for double mastectomies for girls who think that they might be trans and so on. And these weird people have made an unholy alliance with corporate wokery. Corporations who just think that if they fly the rainbow flag and talk about how incredibly inclusive they are, we will ignore anything else about them. So all sorts of banks that have mucked up appallingly in recent years, they just have to fly the old rainbow flag and they're back and safe and covered in glory. All sorts of companies do this. I think it's deeply cynical. It's an alliance between people who don't have jobs and people who want to cover over the fact that they're doing other things that maybe aren't so great.
Strangely absent in the Middle East. These same companies that fly the rainbow flag in Western countries are very, very apprehensive. In fact, they don't do the same thing in places where
look at FIFA.
LGBT community are genuinely oppressed.
Yeah, look at FIFA, Rita. I mean, FIFA's been going on about this week. Oh, we're so glad to celebrate Pride Month. You know what? If you were that keen on gay pride, you might not hold the World Cup in a country where being gay is still illegal for the citizenry. I mean, you'd have thought that was a sort of basic thing, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, and Qatar's got issues with all sorts of minority groups, not just the LGBT community. Now, Douglas, you've just appeared on Bill Maher's program, and it's been fascinating to see a man of the left like Maher grow increasingly incredulous with the excesses of the left. Here you are talking about posters around New York telling illicit drug users not to feel ashamed, but be empowered about their illegal drug use. Have a look.
I love this one. Change it up. Yeah. Change it up. Injecting drugs carries the highest risk. Try smoking or snorting instead. Yeah. This is.
Can you imagine explaining that to your kid?
No. Yeah. This is what I'm always saying to the left side of the country. When what you're doing sounds like an Onion headline, stop.
Douglas, can these same voices on the left, like Elon Musk and Bill Maher, can they have some sort of impact, or are they just going to be dismissed as white supremacists and disowned by the Liberals?
I think that various people will try to dismiss them and will keep on doing so. The problem is it's really hard when the people they're trying to run against are just so good at their job. I mean, like, I think we discussed the other week, there was some attempt by MSNBC in America to sort of portray Elon Musk as some kind of, failure, not very bright, If they're reduced to that, the chances are they're not going to win. It's the same with Bill Maher's critics. Bill Maher is his own man, and he always has been. I mean, he's more a man of the left than a man of the right, but he's not a joiner of things. He's an independent voice, very doggedly independent, and he's also very, very funny. He's incredibly good at his job. Anyone who sees how people can do that stuff badly. You know, just need to watch Bill Maher doing it, and he just does it incredibly well. And yes, I think that people who are sort of voices who don't go along with the herd at the moment are inevitably going to have attempts to pick them off. But I get the feeling as time goes on that those attempts are less and less successful, less and less likely to succeed. You know, there's a much bigger audience for Bill Maher than there is for, you know, some sort of boring herd sheep sort of, you know, comedian who thinks they've really got it but have not yet been discovered, you know, and all of that. I think as time goes on and more voices speak up, people will see that, you know, it's not a left-right thing. It's just a whether or not you're willing to demean yourself by just saying things that are not true, or if you just decide, no, I'll stick to my guns and, you know, to hell with the consequences. And I think that the great thing about people like that is that they give other people much more confidence as a result.
Let's go to the UK, your home. Most of us have been enjoying the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. She is certainly a figure that is, well, if not universally loved, at the very least universally respected. But I'm not so sure, Douglas, about the next in line to the throne and even the one after that, because we're hearing already things that are looking like political lectures. Let's have a listen.
Today, in 2022, as the Queen celebrates her Platinum Jubilee, the pressing need to protect and restore our planet has never been more urgent. But, like her, I am an optimist. Decades of making the case for taking better care of our world has meant that environmental issues are now at the top of the global agenda.
Douglas, we've got a future king there talking about climate change. We know his father's obsessed about the issue, thinks even the Syrian conflict was due to climate change. Is this a risk that this is a very fine line they're walking? Because one of the reasons the Queen is universally respected is that she never, ever became political. She understood her role.
That's right. That's absolutely right, Rita. And the late Queen Mother gave one interview in her entire life and deeply regretted it. And by the way, she didn't say anything in the interview at all. There's nothing revelatory. But yes, I mean that's one of the reasons why the monarch is respected is that he or she must remain above politics. I do worry that this is a fine line. I mean, I'm all for members of the royal family making, you know, non-political speeches about issues that we all agree on. So, for instance, I know the environment around us and looking after our green spaces, for instance. Everyone wants to do that. It should have a good campaign to do it. And you can do that without getting into the sort of Al Gore terrain, where before you know it, you know, you're telling everyone they're going to be dead in 20 months if you don't do what they say, which I think, by the way, Al Gore said 20 months ago. But the point is that I'm feeling fine. I don't know about you, Rita, but I think there is a fine line on this. It's understandable that the younger royals will want to sort of cover themselves in some sort of, not glory, but some kind of respect by being seen to pick up all the issues that everybody else agrees upon. But actually, once you get into the climate change stuff, you know, you're on very political terrain. So I wish they'd just sort of, you know, stick to sort of, you know, looking after the countryside, you know, not littering, I don't know, stuff like that. Looking after the environment around us and so on. The minute they get into these political arguments, I think, as Prince Charles has shown, you know, you make yourself vulnerable basically to the political to and fro. And the royals aren't in a great position to put up with that if that were to come their way.
Very well said. You should be advising the future kings. Douglas Murray, thank you for joining me tonight.
It's a great pleasure as always, Rita.